the least of these. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love. Little hands, shoeless feet, lonely eyes looking back at me. Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and be loved. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these. When we love the least of these. Break our hearts once again. Help us to remember when we were only children hoping for a friend. Won't you look around? These are the lives that the world has forgotten, waiting for doors of our hearts and our homes to open. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these. When we love the least of these. If not us, who will be like Jesus to the least of these? If not us, tell me who will be like Jesus to the least of these. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love. Little hands, shoeless feet, lonely eyes looking back at me. Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and back at me? Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Good morning and welcome to the King's Report for Wednesday, May 10th, 2017. This is the fourth month, 15th day in the 8th year of Cheongi by the heavenly calendar. I'm Tim Elder, sitting in for Hyungjin Moon, the second king of Cheonryuguk. And we'll start this morning, as we usually do, with the weather. In the Cheonryugung region this morning, it's 44 degrees. Not quite as cool as we've had the past few mornings, but still pretty cool. And it's going to go down to about 37 degrees, we think, before the sun rises in about an hour or so. And it's going to go up to 63. We're finally going to make it up to the 60s again. 63 degrees today is a high, but it's going to be mostly cloudy. We're continuing in a week of below normal temperatures, and nighttime temperatures have been going down into the 30s these past few days, and probably will do so again tomorrow morning. And the nighttime temperatures are going to be not so cool, but the daytime temperatures are going to get pretty cold. This Saturday, we're expecting a high of 50 degrees. So keep those sweaters handy. And it's also going to be pretty rainy, I think, during the weekend. All right, so let's go now to our Bible. Rima, my Bible reading this morning is from 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. Paul is saying, I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day. And not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. Let me read that again, verses 7 and 8 of chapter 4. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day. And not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. Yesterday, when the results of the Korean election were reported, and the fact that the most leftist candidate, Moon Jae-in, received some 44% of the vote, I think, and it was elected by quite a large plurality over the others. The second place finisher was the most conservative candidate, Hong Jung-pyo. But he received slightly more than 20%, I think about 23% of the vote. And this was a disappointment for our sanctuary, our brothers and sisters in Korea, because they had to fought very hard to support the candidate that would most strongly support the Korea-U.S. alliance, the U.S.-Korea alliance. And that was not Moon Jae-in. Moon Jae-in is a man who gave one of his promises during the election that he would visit North Korea before he visited the United States. He said that he would reconsider or look again at the deployment of the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Missile Defense System in Korea, in South Korea, and made other remarks that really placed him at the very left of the spectrum among the candidates. And he was, in fact, the chief of staff of another president, Roh Moo-hyun, who was president from 2003 to 2008. And Roh Moo-hyun had this idea that South Korea could be some kind of an intermediary or a bridge between the United States and China. It was a failed policy, but Moon Jae-in now is saying some of the same things. He's saying that he will negotiate with the United States and China to bring some kind of a reconciliation. Again, continuing Roh Moo-hyun's failed foreign policy of somehow making South Korea a broker between the United States and China, or the United States and Soviet and Russia. But the king emphasized that despite this disappointment, the South Korean brothers and sisters should not be disheartened, because he said that Father would accept their offering, the offering of their fight, that their fight itself is and the valiant way in which they fought was something that heaven could recognize and heaven could accept as an offering, and that is an offering that heaven could then use. He didn't mention it yesterday, but I remember the king mentioning on another occasion how one brother, a Brazilian brother, was in South Korea, and he was a martial arts master, and he fought in a martial arts tournament and lost. But then, and Father said to this brother, "Don't worry. The fact that you fought for heaven, not for yourself, but for heaven, will be accepted. That will be accepted by God." Something to that effect. And I was reminded of that when the king was speaking yesterday. And I think also Paul here as well is saying something similar, that that there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. That he fought a good fight, he said in verse 7. He didn't convert the world. He didn't establish perhaps as many churches as he would like to have, although he established many. But still, when Paul's life was coming to an end, still the vast majority of people in the Mediterranean region were still rejecting Jesus and rejecting the Word of God. But still, Paul knew, though, that he had fought a good fight, and that God was accepting his fight as an offering. And in fact, after Paul's life ended, God continued to work through the hearts of people to bring about the victory of Christianity in the Roman world, and finally to establish Christianity throughout the world over the next centuries and millennia. So I think this is a very important lesson to us all, that even in losing, we can win. That even in losing, as long as we fight a good fight, and continue and keep the faith until the end, we can still win. And that is why God always wins, because even in losing, God wins. Now I want to go to my Rima in the Jeonseonggyeong, which I'm taking today from the book on the root. Let's see, the book here is book 11, The Root of the Universe. And I'm in chapter 3, titled The Human Fall and Restoration, and then I'm on page 1807. All fundamental issues cannot be resolved other than by the contents of the secrets of heaven that Reverend Moon has revealed. All fundamental issues cannot be resolved other than by the contents of the secrets of heaven that Reverend Moon has revealed. Perhaps a little bit of a clumsy translation, and so I've gone to the Korean original. 모든 하늘의 비밀은 문 총재가 밝힌 내용이 아니고는 해결될 길이 없습니다. The Korean sentence is actually quite simple, not nearly as complex as the English. And I would translate perhaps something like 모든 하늘의 비밀. 모든 하늘의 비밀 is all these secrets of heaven. 문 총재가 밝힌 내용이 아니고는 without the content that is revealed by Reverend Moon, 해결될 길이 없습니다. Cannot be resolved. So the secrets of heaven, none of the secrets of heaven can be resolved without the content revealed by Reverend Moon, or there is no way to reveal the secrets of heaven other than by the content revealed by Reverend Moon. You know, some people use the clumsiness of the English translation of Jeonseonggyeong to try to justify the heretical new Chun Song-kyung created by the Family Federation recently. I hope people can see through that excuse. It's pretty transparent. Think about it. The Bible, is there just one translation of the Bible? No, there are many English translations. There are perhaps a dozen or more. I don't know. I don't even, if you go to go on Google, you can find more than a dozen, I'm sure, translations of the Bible into English. And in other languages as well, there are multiple translations of the Bible into other languages. Korean, I think there are 3 or 4. Japanese, I think at least 2 or 3 or 4 translations of the Bible. You can have many translations of the same original text, depending on the translator, because translations always reflect the translator. There's always the subjective judgment going into translation. So you can have different interpretations and different understandings, and different people will translate the same text in different ways. So you can have different translations, but you don't go back into the original and delete the Sermon on the Mount. Yeah? You don't go back into the original and say, oh, I think the book of Job doesn't belong. I think the Song of Solomon, that's too raunchy. Let's just leave it out. No, the original stays the same. So and if you don't like the translation, make a new one. You can make a new translation. That's okay, but don't mess with the original. So this justification that people give that the Family Federation's new heretical Chun Song-kyung is better than the other one because it has a better translation is simply false. And people who accept that excuse, as the king has said, are quite frankly brain dead. Yeah, brain dead is the only way that you can describe that. But Father says that the content that of the secrets of heaven cannot be resolved except by the content that He has revealed. That Father is the only one who reveals the content that can resolve the secrets of heaven. No one else. Not the Han Mother, not anyone else has content that will resolve the secrets of heaven. Let's remember that. Let's keep faith with our Father, with our true Father, and let's reject those desecrators, those who desecrate His word. Let's reject those who bring in heresies, those who change His word, who add to His word. Let's reject all that. Let's keep faith and fight the good fight so that God can accept our fight and accept our offering. All right, we'll be back then in a minute or so with news from a Cheongguk perspective. This morning, we have a big headline coming out of Washington, and we'll be dealing with that as well. See you in about a minute.
At break of day, in hope we rise. We speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today. Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology, it's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Carr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry, Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Welcome back to the King's Report for Wednesday, May 10th, 2017. I'm Tim Elder, sitting in for Hyungjin Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. And I'm joined now with entrepreneur, small business owner, Mr. Greg Noll. Welcome, Greg. Good morning. So last night, the president fired James Comey, the FBI director. About time. And guess what? You know, Kim Jong-un threatened to turn Washington, D.C. into flames or sea of flames or something like that. But the politicians in Washington have done that all by themselves. Because this morning there are seemingly an infinite number of articles on this firing. You're fired. Those two words have created dozens and dozens of articles, and we don't need to go through all of them. But there are a few, about 3 or 4, I think, that I've picked out that I think will help us understand. And I also want to look at after we look at this incident in itself, I want to look at how this would go down under the Cheongguk Constitution. I want to look at the Cheongguk Constitution and look how this situation would be handled, or what would happen under the Cheongguk Constitution. Because I think it's a good learning moment. Is that what it's called? Learning moment. Plan. Yeah. So anyway, let's look at Drudge first. Drudge. In his main story, You're Fired, he connects to the New York Times article, which I'm not going to look at. I have another article I think is better. And then in the upper left, he says Trump cans Comey. The next headline, need new leadership, in quotes. Kellyanne lost confidence, in quotes, she says. And then MAG, biggest gamble yet. And that's a good story in the U.S. News and World Report, which we will be looking at. 10 scandals on director's watch. FBI chaos, turmoil, drama. Mook, this terrifies me. It doesn't take much to terrify people in Washington, does it?
They think they're next.
Krauthammer, inexplicable. Dems want emergency hearings. Durbin, grave constitutional issues. Comey learned of firing as he addressed FBI employees in L.A. TV screens in background flashed the news. So he was giving a speech, and he's looking at the TV screens in the background, and it says, "You're fired," on the TV screen. And he thought it was a joke, yes. And his staff had to actually take him into a separate room and say, actually, you are fired. so FBI resisted. Investigation leaks. So that's the ones that are on Drudge. Let's look at the Breitbart. And just on the same, we're just going to focus on this one story, this first segment. This Breitbart says this is his headline. The simple reason Comey fired now. Clapper confirmed no evidence of Trump-Russia election collusion. And that's also a good article, and that we'll be looking at that as well. Former Clinton team Democrats react with horror after Trump fires Comey. Social media explodes.
Trump is probably the most exciting president we've had in a long time.
Flashback. Clinton blames Comey for 2016 election loss. Oh, yeah, that's right. Flashback. Sessions had serious concerns about Comey back in October. Warren, Comey was fired because of the Russians. Celebs full-blown constitutional crisis. They are now, Hollywood is now the Supreme Court, I guess. Hannity, Comey, a national embarrassment. Matthews, a little whiff of fascism, and Comey firing. They would know, wouldn't they? Sarah Sanders, James Comey politicized the role, deserves to be fired. Blumenthal on Comey firing, we face a looming constitutional crisis. Mook, Comey firing, authoritarian behavior. Okay, that's about it. I wanted to go actually, rather than the New York Times, I wanted to go to the WorldTribune.com's main story on this. Their headline is, "You're fired. Trump tells FBI's Comey he's not able to effectively lead the bureau." President Donald Trump on May 9 fired FBI Director James Comey, saying he concurred with the Justice Department that Comey was no longer able to effectively lead the bureau. "You are hereby terminated and removed from office effective immediately," even during your speech, the president's letter to Comey said. "How the mighty have fallen," defense writer Jim Robbins said in a USA Today commentary. Quote, "In March, Comey was hailed as the most powerful person in Washington. But those who are tagged most powerful have a funny way of quickly being shown up, particularly when they serve at the pleasure of the president," Robbins, a former Washington Times editorial writer, said. Quote, "In Comey's case, his power supposedly was based on his ongoing investigation into Russian influence on the 2016 presidential election, an investigation which has turned up nothing of great importance, certainly nothing to substantiate charges of Russia hacking the election. In fact, Comey had been a dead man walking for some time," Robbins wrote. "He was a director without a constituency. He had tried to strike a balance in a sharply divided political environment and wound up alienating both sides. He had to go." The search for Comey's replacement will begin immediately, the White House said. In saying a new director was needed to restore public trust and confidence in the FBI, Trump said he was following the advice of Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Ironically, Comey in recent congressional testimony also emphasized his concern about public trust in the FBI. "While I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation, I nevertheless concur with the judgment of the Department of Justice that you are not able to effectively lead the bureau," Trump said in a letter to Comey. And I wanted to go to the Breitbart article on this. Because Breitbart says the case for firing former FBI Director James Comey has been made at length by both Democrats and Republicans. Last July, Republicans were angry that he failed to indict Hillary Clinton, and Democrats were angry that he made a case for doing so. In October, Democrats were furious that Comey revealed that he had reopened the investigation into Clinton, and in March, Republicans were angry that he disputed President Donald Trump's wiretapping claims. So basically, this guy had no friends. Comey was arguably dealt an impossible hand by the Obama administration. Regardless, within the Department of Justice and beyond, Comey had, perhaps with good intentions, undermined his credibility and that of the FBI. But why fire Comey now? The answer is simple. The day before, President Barack Obama's, remember him? Barack Obama's former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, repeated under oath what he told NBC News' Chuck Todd on Meet the Press on March 5th, that he had seen no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. That gave the Trump administration the breathing room to dismiss Comey, which it simply did not have before. It is true that Trump did not have an attorney general and an assistant attorney general in place until relatively late, but he could have acted before then, though having their recommendation certainly adds weight to his decision. Put simply, if Trump had fired Comey while there was still serious question about Russia, then it would have been more plausible to accuse him of trying to interfere in the investigation or cover up whatever happened. It is now clear that nothing, in fact, happened. Monday's hearing with Clapper and former acting Attorney General Sally Yates was meant to reveal a smoking gun and produce nothing but viral videos of Senator Ted Cruz. The more Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and his media allies tried to hype the Comey firing as the new Watergate and revive the Russia conspiracy theory, the more they help Trump by making fools of themselves. Yeah. So here you have a situation, and here's where I wanted to bring in the Cheongguk Constitution. So first of all, in the Cheongguk Constitution, there is no national police force. Principle 3, Article 3, Section 9, Paragraph 11 says Congress is prohibited from establishing a national police force or investigative agency of the people. So the FBI does not exist to begin with under the Cheongguk Constitution. What you do have in the Cheongguk Constitution is the office of the Inspector General. So in this kind of a situation, the Inspector General would be investigating the president if there was a serious possibility that a foreign government had interfered with the election process. Here in Principle 3, Article 1, Paragraph 7, under the authority of the king, the office of Inspector General is formed. This office shall have unrestricted access to all documents in the governments of Cheongguk and will carry out the functions of investigating and bringing prosecutions against any individual working in the governments of Cheongguk, including bringing impeachment proceedings against the president or prosecutions of individuals being contracted by the governments of Cheongguk. This office is given to Moon Guk-jin and to his heirs. The inheritance will be from father to son or closest male next of kin. If there is no son, the inheritance of this office will be made with the consent of the king. And of course, the king being passed down from father to son in the lineage of Moon Hyung-jin. So it's interesting that here, and I wanted to get your input on this as well, because I think here you see that the office of Inspector General is removed from the political turmoil. It's a hereditary office that is made with in the lineage of Moon Guk-jin, and it is passed from father to son. And so you don't have this a situation where you have now where the president, by firing Comey, is being accused by some, although not justifiably, but being accused by some of trying to have a cover-up. So it's kind of taken a step away. This kind of investigation will be taken away from the political turmoil. So in general, I would like to get your input, Greg, on this whole story, and if you can, the situation. And I want to go into the U.S. News and World Report later on. It calls this Trump's biggest gamble yet. We'll get into that a little bit later after we get your input.
It seems that the FBI has become a highly politicized. Recently, I don't ever recall the FBI being this in the middle of a political firestorm like what Comey has found himself in. He's kind of been playing both sides of the aisle, and I think the Cheongguk Constitution is centered on Christ, centered on Father and his lineage. So that's really where the relationship of good governance should be centered on. So I think the wisdom of the Constitution is that policy and national security would be centered on principles of Father. The Cheongguk, as well as the teachings of Father, the lineage of Father. I think if a culture is built upon Christ, then there'll be peace, and there'll be a sense of well-being in the country of such. So I think there's great wisdom in removing that office from the politics at hand and allowing clear judgment to be made. Yeah.
So in Cheongguk, the Inspector General would make a judgment as to whether there's a need to investigate the president, a need to investigate whether the foreign government had interfered in the election, And if there is that, if it's decided there is a need to investigate, then he would investigate, and then whatever evidence he has access to, all the documents and data of the government, all the classified files, and if there is evidence, then he takes that to the House of Representatives to say, okay, here this guy needs to be impeached, the president needs to be impeached. And the House of Representatives then will look at that evidence, and the House of Representatives will make a decision as to whether the Inspector General is right in saying that there needs to be an impeachment. And then after the House of Representatives does that, then it goes to the Senate, where there's a trial in the Senate, and then it's the Senate then that will finally decide whether or not to actually remove the Senate, remove the president.
So there's a real due process.
There is
in
a
other
due
words.
process,
It's not
yeah.
just the Inspector General making a unilateral
That's
decision.
right. That's right. Yeah, it's his job to investigate and to bring evidence to the House of Representatives, who will make a decision on whether to impeach, and then the Senate on whether to convict.
I'm sure the Inspector General will have an office of personnel that would be assisting in this whole process.
Yes. Yeah. All right, it's time to take another break. Let's do that, and I want to come back and go through the article by the U.S. News and World Report on this. I find that to be enlightening as well, and I hope you will too. Be back in just a minute.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today. Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Good morning. It's May 10th, 2017. We're in the 8th year of Cheonggi, the 4th month and 15th day. You know what 15th day means? It means there's a full moon.
Yes, it is. It's
Yes.
glorious this morning.
That always happens on the 15th day of the lunar calendar.
Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Interesting.
Whereas the first day of the lunar calendar is a new moon.
Mm.
That's how it works.
Okay.
I'm Tim Elder, sitting in for Hyungjin Moon, the second king of Cheongguk, who will be giving the Korean service later on this morning. And I wanted to continue with the Komi story a little bit more. with the U.S. News and World Report. In firing Comey, Trump makes his biggest gamble yet, is the headline of U.S. News and World Report. President Donald Trump's stunning axing of FBI Director James Comey might just be his most audacious political act yet. He had to know it would expose him to charges of a cover-up, to accusations that he fired Comey to rid himself of the person leading the investigation into whether his 2016 campaign colluded with Russia. He had to anticipate the amplified calls for an independent prosecutor as a result of the firing, and perhaps even the comparisons to Richard Nixon's Saturday Night Massacre. He must have weighed that the story could envelop his presidency for weeks, if not longer, potentially crippling momentum for his domestic legislative agenda and his overseas ambitions. And yet, Trump, the most irregular and unpredictable American political leader in modern times, did it anyway. It's a grand political play that's as risky as it is rare. An FBI chief hasn't been removed by a president in 24 years, and that was President Clinton. Bill Clinton was the last president to fire his FBI director. It's vintage Trump. Hey, I'm only doing what Obama and Clinton did. Yeah. It's vintage Trump, acting against political norms, moving on a quick whim and without any warning. But it's also a prime piece of political jujitsu, U.S. News and World Report says. For months, the Democrats, from lowly first-time staffers all the way up to the party's presidential nominee, had blamed Comey for Trump's victory. They complained his intervention twice into the campaign with pronouncements about an investigation into Clinton's email practices soiled her reputation with enough voters to swing the election's outcome. In November, Senate Minority Leader in waiting Chuck Schumer said he was appalled by Comey's decision to send a letter to lawmakers 11 days before the election notifying them of newly discovered and potentially relevant Clinton emails. "I do not have confidence in him any longer," Schumer declared. With this move, Trump flipped the calculus, terminating the great Democratic bogeyman of 2016 and immediately forcing the opposition party to defend maintaining an appointee that they have long trashed and viewed as tarnished. Isn't it ironic that the man that Democrats despised last year, particularly in October, the man they hated, is now the man that they're using as an excuse to say we need to have a special prosecutor, Republican strategist Karl Rove said Tuesday on Fox News. What's particularly galling for Democrats is not that Comey is gone, but the timing of the dismissal and the reason Trump is using for it. The administration's rationale that Comey should be canned due to how poorly he handled Clinton's email investigation is curious, if not humorous, given how Trump reveled in Clinton's email troubles as a candidate. It took guts for Director Comey to make the move that he made in light of the kind of opposition he had, Trump said on the trail in Michigan just 8 days prior to the election. Jeffrey Toobin, the CNN legal analyst, could barely contain his disbelief of that explanation on the air. The FBI is running an investigation of Donald Trump's campaign in Russia, and apparently it's getting too close for comfort. That's the only rational conclusion you can draw from his firing, he said. Toobin posited that this will allow Trump to eventually appoint a stooge who will shut down the investigation, maybe Chris Christie, someone who will do his bidding. That's Toobin. The integrity of the ongoing investigation will surely be questioned, but the probe won't end. It will be up to the acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe, a career officer whose wife ran for a state office as a Democrat, to show independence and continuity as the White House begins the search for a permanent replacement. If Hillary Clinton had won, Director Comey would have been fired immediately, and the same Democrats that are criticizing the president's decision today would be dancing in the streets, White House spokeswoman Sarah Huckabee Sanders said Tuesday night on Fox. But on Comey, Trump forced Democrats into a vice. While they loathed his impact on Clinton, some eventually came to see him as a steady bulwark in the Russia investigation. That conundrum was clear when Schumer addressed reporters Tuesday and called for an independent special prosecutor to pick up the pieces of an investigation that's been rocked. When pressed on his opinion of Comey, Schumer said, "I never called on the president to fire Director Comey. I had a lot of questions about it. I had a lot of questions about how he handled himself." Wasn't it? Don't look at me. Trump knows that to many Americans, Democrats will look hypocritical defending Comey now after trashing him so incessantly. In less than 4 months, this president has fired the acting attorney general, a prominent U.S. attorney in New York, and the FBI director. In his prior life, "You're fired" was a dramatic line to cap a reality television show. Now Trump is employing it at the highest possible levels to reshape his presidency and possibly history. So U.S. News and World Report characterizes it as political jujitsu. Maybe so. What do you think about that?
Well, how big is the story that the day before the
Clapper?
agency
Yeah.
was cleared,
Yeah.
had cleared the Trump
small.
administration with collusion with Russia? Is anybody talking about that?
No, they're not.
it's,
They're not. They're not at
That
all.
seems like the bigger story here that nobody's talking about.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, they gave. So it gave, as Breitbart said, it gave him room to fire Comey. And he did it quickly. And even as Comey was giving a speech in L.A., talking to people, and he sees on the screen beyond there, "Oh, Comey is fired." Who's Comey? "Oh, that's me." "Wait a second, am I fired?"
Is that my brother?
"Who's this guy, Comey?" And at first he thought it was a joke. And his staff had to call him off the stage and
Is
take
there
him into
video
a
of
separate
that?
room.
That would be a good video.
I haven't seen that video yet. Maybe there is a video. I hope someone puts it up. But he was talking to FBI employees, so perhaps not.
It's a top secret meeting. Well, if you're Trump, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. If you keep Comey, there's problems.
Yeah.
If you get rid of him, there's problems.
Yeah.
With the far left, there's really nothing Trump can do that would win their admiration or their praise.
But during the campaign, you and I also went to, I think, a campaign rally, and one of the things we shouted was "Lock her up, lock her up." And Comey was clearly not going to lock her up.
Yeah.
And you were saying during the break, the last break, that we were asking whether there's still possibility of bringing charges. I think there probably is, that a new FBI director, and I think that should be the condition that Trump sets on the new FBI director.
Well, she is really the queen of the swamp.
Yeah.
If there's any swamp monster, it's Hillary Clinton. And I think 90% of Americans would agree that she acted totally inappropriately, if not criminally, in her position in the State Department. And I think the American people are demanding justice. It's not right for this person, for any person, to get away with breaking the law and continue to be a free citizen.
Yeah.
It's not right.
The relationship with the Clinton Foundation,
Yeah.
and the way that nonprofit organization was being used basically as a slush fund for the Clinton family, and of course the way in which she handled emails, that kind of. So there are many reasons for locking her up, and I think firing Comey gives us hope that maybe Trump will follow through on his promise to lock her up after all. We had sort of been beginning to lose hope on that, but we'll have to see who he chooses as the new FBI director. We hope that person will be someone who will, in fact, lock her up.
And I think another strong point about President Trump, and also as a business leader, is that he has to trust his people that he's hired, like Jeff Sessions. And if Jeff Sessions has a major issue with Comey and is not able to work with him on draining the swamp, then we need to put somebody in there who can do the job. So I think that was a huge part of President Trump's decision, is listening to his advisors.
Yeah. True. Certainly Comey was not going to be doing that.
Right.
He was trying to play both sides.
Very political.
Very, very political. And he had lost credibility. And it's true that the FBI had lost credibility. And certainly draining the swamp would not have been possible if Comey had stayed in office. I think it was a good decision. I'm not quite sure about the way that he did it. If it were me, I might have given the guy a heads up.
It's part of the Trump strategy, is to be shocking.
Strategy.
He likes the headline news, I think.
All right, we've covered Comey, I think, enough, and we'll be going into other news when we come back after this break. Don't go away. Don't touch that dial or whatever it is. Don't click. Don't click on any other sites. We'll be back in a minute.
Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Carr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Carr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today. Carr Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Carr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Carr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA.